Next is, I had talked about another versioning tool. If you all remember, what was that? So last time when I introduced to you all versioning tool, we learnt about Git. There is another versioning tool that will be often used by us, and that is kind of unique to machine learning. Okay, so that tool is called DVC, which is data version control. So just to give you all an idea, we learnt about what is the cycle of MLOps, and we understood that you will be making changes, collaborating with your colleagues on any machine learning project. One thing you will be collaborating on is the code base. The second thing which you all will be requiring is used to version data. Till now, if you see what we have done, we have versioned our codes, and while versioning our code, I also wanted to share data with you. So if you see, I have pushed all the data that we have been working on here. Now the problem with this approach is it's a small data set, but in machine learning, you may be playing with GBs of data. So in that case, will it be possible to work with GBs of data or push GBs of data? So my question to all of you is, suppose you have 2 GB of data, will you be able to push it to GitHub? So the question to all of you is GitHub designed to push large amount of data on it or not? And why? You have to answer why also. So the answer to this is no. And the reason is that GitHub repository, they are designed for versioning your codes, small sized codes. Now, technically the answer is yes. Why? Because GitHub has a soft limit of 1 GB of data and a hard limit of 5 GB of data. So it's not about data sources, data limits. Also, there are other limitations like 100 MB of file at one largest size of data can be 100 MB. Here we are talking about GBs. Even if it is in GBs, if we break it down into 100 MBs, then this is the limit. So technically you can have workarounds by which you can push it. But the problem is that the push which you are making to GitHub, that is designed for files like datasets, small datasets or binaries, small code files. It is basically designed for that, if I can put it that way. Okay. Whereas there are repos like DVC, which are designed for large databases, for large files. Okay. So they are optimized for pushing large files. To all of you, yes or no? Now there is not only one, but there are a lot of others also. We want to work with a tool which can version our data. Now before I move into that, I will step into the machine learning domain now to understand why do we want to version our data, all of you. So the first question is, so for codes, all of you understand that we will be collaborating. Obviously a lot of changes will be done by code as we saw, and then we will have to work with those changes so that we are reproducible. The work which we do, we exactly know which version of code is in production, who built it, what was done, all those changes can be tracked. So reproducibility can be increased. That is the whole purpose of using Git. But now the question is, code I understand, but why do you want to version your data also, all of you? In your machine learning operations, the 12 steps that we learned about here, why do we want to, or what is the requirement of versioning our data? So here if you see, if you all remember, while there is a step in machine learning called training of machine learning model. I have explained that in some details. You may have to split your data into training and testing. This also I have explained. We train our data with training data set and we test our data with the testing data set. Now, also if you see, before that, before training, you also have other steps like feature engineering, EDA, these also require data version, because in one of the model you may have done some steps for feature engineering, and while you found that your model metrics, the model evaluation, it is not performing well. So your machine learning model, all of you in layman language, your machine learning model has not trained well, for example, or tested well. So what will you do? You will now change your feature engineering steps, and then again you will do machine learning, and then you will check your model metrics or model performance metrics. Now what is happening here, that you are, instead of changing your code, you are obviously changing your code which can be tracked via Git, but you are also changing your data set which is going into your machine learning model, because the feature engineering steps have changed. How many of you are understanding what I'm explaining? Okay. So now to do all these things, what I'm going to show you, the agenda of this session now. One, you will understand why data versioning is required. You will understand how to use DVC, and we will do hands-on with DVC. And finally, while we are doing this, we will understand how DVC and Git are integrated. Is the agenda clear to all of you? So now what I'm going to do here, what is my data folder here, all of you? You can see here, suppose, let's create a scenario. These are the 4 data sets, for example, which are required for creating or technically training machine learning model. How many of you are understanding my language? Is this making sense? That as a data scientist, you require these 4 data sets in order to create your machine learning model. How many of you are clear? So now, suppose, and these data are in KBs now, so it's not an issue pulling it in GitHub. But suppose we imagine that these data are in MBs or large files. Can you all imagine that? So what have I asked you to imagine? That these files, the dataset files, are high on data size. Imagine they are in MBs or in GBs. My first question to all of you, what do we want to track now? We want to track the data, the folder data. The problem is this is having high data size, so we cannot use GitHub for that. So what we will do, we will use something called DVC. So first of all, you will data version control. This is the software or open source tool that we will be using in order to version our data. Now, in order to install this, you will have to use DVC for VS Code, get VS Code extension. So I use VS Code for my coding thing. So if I open my VS Code, I have also installed DVC in that as an extension. But I would also suggest install it for your Windows also. This is my VS Code. So you may have to use as per your operating system. You can use what you want to install with. Is the scenario clear to all of you that this is my Git repo and this is my data folder? It is huge in size. How do I version it? So what I'll do is I'll open Git bash here, okay? And the first thing I will do is I will write here DVC init data, okay? So instead of Git, what am I using here? I'm using the commands of DVC. As soon as I do this, all of you please look at this folder now. Please note, we'll do something called DVC init, okay? Now check your folder. As soon as I do DVC init, I pass the command. What command did I pass? DVC init. Can you all see that there is a .dvc folder created and .dvc ignore created? How many of you could observe that? That these are the 2 new folders created when I did DVC init command. .dvc folder and .dvc ignore. Okay. So what does this mean now? So now because there are changes in folder structure. Suppose I do git status. All of you, can you see it has tracked that these 3 new files are created? Yes or no? So Git is doing its job. It is telling that, boss, these folders have been created new. If you want me to track them, let them be pushed into commit stage. What we will do now is, we will now tell DVC that I want to, so first of all, let me open this .dvc ignore file. You can see this is 3 lines here, and .dvc, it has lot of folders, subfolders inside it. I'll come to it later. Okay, we'll try to understand that later. But as soon as I do this DVC add, now all of you, I'm asking you a question. What do you want to add to DVC? Which folder you want to add to DVC? We want to add the data folder because it contains my data. I want to add my data folder. So what I will do, DVC add data. Like git add, we will do DVC add. So it is giving me an error. Output data is already tracked by, you can remove it from git, then add to DVC to stop tracking from git. Okay, ideally you may not require this. So if you see here, as soon as I do that, the .dvc file and .dvc ignore file has opened up. Now what I want to do, I want to add DVC add datasets. So what I'm telling that, as soon as I do this, you can see that in .git ignore DVC add dataset, it has automatically added dataset/datasets to it. So what it is saying now, if I do git status, all of you please note, it is not tracking dataset folder. What it is tracking, a new file which has got created. As soon as I added DVC add dataset, it has added DVC datasets.dvc file, and that .git ignore. In .git ignore, if you can see, there is a change. There was one addition of datasets here which has got added to it. So it has added this. Now all of you please see, git add all the change, git commit m dvc demo, git push origin main. As soon as I do this now, you can see here that it will push everything, but it will not push the dataset folder. How many of you are following what I'm saying? So if you see, after this push, there is no dataset folder. What is there? Dataset.dvc file is there, which has something like this. I will explain you what are these details. And it has something like a .git ignore, a .dvc ignore, and .dvc. But it does not have the dataset folder. Okay. So I will come to this where it is being tracked, so and so forth. So now just focus on what I am doing. So here in this folder, all of you, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a simple demo. So for example, this dataset folder, we have DVC demo 1. So using Notepad, I'll do one thing. I'll open from here, file, open DVC demo 1. Yeah, so from here it is opening. Now what I'm going to do, I'm suppose that in this file, I'm adding a new data set or new data. Okay. So how many of you are getting what I've done? So I've made changes in the DVC demo 1 file. I have added in this one more line. So as soon as I do this, all of you please note, I do git status, it is saying nothing has changed. But if I do DVC status, you'll find that it is saying that there are changes in your dataset folder. What has happened? I have added a new line here. So now here, what I will do is, I will again, like similar to git, DVC add dataset, I will do this. Now if I look at DVC status, you will find that everything is up to date. But if I look at git status, it will say that .dvc folder, .dvc file has changed. So what is happening, all of you, that as soon as I make changes in my dataset folder, what gets updated? The dataset.dvc file gets updated. As soon as I make changes in dataset folder, the dataset.dvc file, that gets updated. And if you see, as soon as I make changes, the MD5 file, SHA, similar to the SHA code in Git, the MD5 file has got changed. Okay. So this is how Git is understanding, okay, because your MD5 has changed, you have modified your data set, it is tracking that. So what I will do, git add git commit m dvc second changes, and then git push origin main. Okay. So now what I have done, I have pushed my changes here. I have pushed my changes here, and my changes are being tracked in DVC. So it is saying DVC second changes. That is what I have pushed here. So if you, yeah, second changes has been pushed. So now all of you, if I open my folder here, please check here. Suppose I close this, I close this. Okay. So notepad, all of you please note, as soon as I open this file DVC demo1 with my notepad here, now what I want to do, all of you please note, what I'll do is I'll revert back to my old commit, which is I'll go to this DVC demo commit. Okay. So I'll go back to this commit, which is DVC demo commit. So this is the folder. Yeah. So here I will try to revert back to that previous SHA. How should I do that? Quickly. So I don't want to do reset hard. There is something called git checkout. All of you, git checkout. So suppose I do git checkout and I give the name of the commit in which I want to. All of you, as soon as I enter this, please have a look what will happen to my local repo. Okay. So I press enter. If you see, my local repo has reverted back to the stage it was at before when I had made the first commit. Now, if you remember in the first commit of DVC, this was not present. So what it will do is, if I revert back to the old one, my data will also get revert to the older one. How many of you are understanding what I'm explaining? I'll create one more repo maybe. So I'll go back here, new repo. Let me create a new repo again. So new skillfy DVC demo. So I'm creating one new file, DVC demo, create repository. So this has been created. What I'll do is I'll clone this in my local machine. So this new folder, open git bash here, and here if you see what I'm doing, git clone. So it is cloning that folder here. So here this folder has been cloned. Inside this I have a .git folder. So what I will do now, suppose let me open Visual Studio Code, file, open folder. So I've selected the folder here in my DVC, in my Visual Code. So here the files are. What I'm doing now, new file I'm creating. Suppose new Python file, print DVC demo code. So this I'm creating, and I'll be saving here Python code. And now what I'm going to do, all of you please note, here terminal, I can open a git bash here directly in my DVC also. So here, instead of opening multiple times here, I am opening DVC through my Visual Studio Code. So these are the two files here. You can see it will say that a new file has been created, Python code. I will add that. I will commit that Python code. So how do you push to origin? So here git push origin main. I do this, and what it will do, it will push this code to my cloud, to my GitHub. So if you see here, as soon as I refresh this, you will find that the Python code will be available here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new folder here, new folder, dataset folder, and inside this dataset, I'm going to create a new file, and I'll name it, say, data file. In this data file, what I'm writing, this is the data file I want to track. So what I've done this. So what I will do, first thing I will do is DVC init here, giving me an error. Okay. So I will have to go out because there was no repo. So it is saying now I will have to write DVC init. So it will work fine. So it has created all those folders, .dvc and .dvc ignore file. What I'm going to add to it, DVC add dataset. Now it will create the dataset.dvc file, .git ignore file. Once I have done this, then again I can check git status. DVC file is created. Git add dot git commit m dataset folder, then git push origin main. So yeah, so now if you see here in my repo, if I refresh this, you'll find all the DVC files now. .dvc file, everything is available here. It has got committed. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make another change here. This is the second change in the data, more data added, for example, and then I save this. Now what I will do, git, again I will do what, DVC status. You will see that it will tell that there has been a modification in the dataset folder, which we have done. We have added one new line. So what I will see, okay, DVC add dataset again. Suppose I say, what should I do now? So here again, yes, we will have to now add the data. So DVC status, DVC add dataset, then git status, you will see it will tell that your dataset.dvc file has got changed. Then what I will do, git commit or git add all the changes. Then what I will do, git commit m second changes. Then DVC git push origin main. So all of you just note, as soon as I do this, you'll find that in my data set, DVC MD5 will have changed. If you check it, if you keep noting the MD5 file, you'll find that in dataset DVC in previous commit and now commit, these files may have changed. Okay. So now what I want to do, I want to revert back to my previous commit. So what I'll do, I'll go back here, then I'll check here. Suppose I want to go back here. So this one I'll git checkout. So what it will do, it will now go back to that file. But if you see the data file now, if I click on this data file, it is still showing the second line. So suppose I do DVC checkout here. All of you, can you note what has happened? As soon as I did DVC checkout, it reverted back to the same status while it was there when we had created that commit. How many of you are following what I'm saying? So you have to do git checkout. After git checkout, you will see the previous code, previous file that we were doing at that point of time. So suppose now I want to revert back to my new commit, the latest commit. So what I will do, how do I revert to my latest commit in my git? So git checkout main. So as soon as I do this, all of you see and then after this, now I have come back to my main, to the latest SHA of my git repo. All of you just see DVC checkout. As soon as I do this, now in my main current version of my git, you had second line of code also. Second, in your data file, you had second line written. As soon as I do DVC checkout here, you can see the second line has come back. Am I making sense to all of you? Yes or no? So I'm trying to show all of you is, as I'm moving towards different version of code, corresponding to those code, whatever version of dataset was there, that also keeps on popping. You don't need to worry about whether my data set is being tracked. So now your DVC is taking care to sync your data with the corresponding code. Those who are following this, please raise your hand. Was it clear or not? So DVC checkout you need to do. So similarly now, all of you please note what I am going to do. In this dataset folder, I am going to add 4 new files. Okay. What I am going to do, in my dataset folder, I am going to add 4 new files. All of you please note. So here I go to Skillfy, this folder, I have a data, or let's do one by one. Let's add serial now. Suppose in my coding or in my data science, I require this data now. So what I am doing, in my dataset folder, what I am adding the serial file. So as soon as I do here, DVC status, it will tell that you have modified your dataset folder. I will say, okay, DVC add, whatever changes you have to done to your dataset, add that to DVC. Now, because I made these changes, what will Git say? Okay, because you have made changes in your dataset, in your dataset.dvc file also changes will be reflecting. You can see here, it is saying that this has been modified. What has been modified inside it? The MD5 file. So what I will do, okay, commit this with the new DVC third change, or let me just write serial so all of you will remember that serial was here. So serial file was added in this commit, and then git push origin main. Oh, I forgot one line. We had to do git commit add, right? Git add, I didn't do commit m push origin. So as soon as I do this, all of you please note, everything is committed. If you go to my repo, you will find that serial has been committed. Here you can see this is the only file which has changed. And now what I'm going to do, again I'm showing you the same demo. I'm going to revert back to my old, say this version of code. So here there was no serial, there was no second line of change. So what I do, git checkout, I do this, it checks out to the old one. So you can see, and as soon as after checking out, I do DVC checkout. All of you please note, two changes will occur. The serial file will not be available and the data file will have only one line. How many of you could see this magic? So if you see, DVC has taken care of ensuring that with this version of my commit, whatever version of code data was there, it has reverted back to it. So as a machine learning engineer, as a data scientist, I am not worried about which code had what version of data. All these is taken care by DVC now. Is it crystal clear what we have done? So the takeaway from this is that DVC maintains all the data. Once you add that data to it, it will take care of ensuring that for a particular version of code, which version of DVC or which version of data was available. Okay. So this makes us controlled and gives us, as a machine learning engineer, it gives us reproducibility, because now I know what version of data so when I was developing this code, what version of data is there. And the other thing to learn here or note here, those who are new to DVC, is we are not committing the actual files here. We are not committing the actual files here. So we are not taking git space. So the question now is, where is this data being stored? So the answer to this is that .dvc folder. So if you go and check on the .dvc folder, there is something called cache, files, MD5, and now you can see for every commit I am making, it is creating one MD5 files, and inside that MD5 files, it keeps the version of data. This is the MD5 file. If you note, this is the name of the MD5 file. You can check it. So for example, here dataset.dvc, this is the MD5 file for it. EAAE2FF something. If you look at this, EAD2FF something is here. And if you see here, E1AED2FF. So this, I hope you are all getting the idea. So this even, the first two letters is here and rest is here. And this is a .directory file. So what it is doing, these files are maintaining a local copy of all your data. Yes or no? So what it is doing in that DVC folder, in the directory file, it is maintaining which data was changed, what was done, and it is maintaining a local copy here. All of you, can you try this out? So here if you see now, as soon as I do git checkout main, all of you please see my screen. I do this, it goes back to the main one, and as soon as I do DVC checkout, all of you can see in the dataset folder, you will see the changes now. The second line has come back and the serial file has come back. Who is enabling this? .dvc folder, which maintains all the cache, everything. It is taking care of maintaining the version of it. Yes or no? Okay. Now let me show you one interesting change. Okay. So for example, now we were just adding and modifying files. What you can also track here, later I will show. Say for example, this serial.csv file. How many rows are there? All of you? If you see, there are 78 rows. What I'm going to do now, so for example, this data is not making sense. I'm deleting this data. All of you, can you remember this data, cinnamon toast? So what we are doing, we are removing cinnamon toast from our data. Similarly, suppose crispy I am removing from my data, and just cinnamon, cinnamon crispy and oatmeal. Let's delete these three. Okay. Now suppose I have done this and now I find that, so here all of you just note, as soon as I have saved this, what will change first? All of you please help me. DVC status, if I check, it will change. Why? Because my data set has changed. So it is showing data set as modified. What I will do, DVC add data set, whatever change I have made, I have added it. Now, as soon as I do this, you can see M has come on dataset.dvc. What is happening? Because the MD5 file has changed in dataset.dvc file, it will now reflect on my Git status also, that boss, your DVC file .dvc file has changed. So what I will do now, git add dot all the changes, git commit and M. What we have deleted? We have deleted few lines. I remember crispy, I think crispy, cereal and oat. We had made these, deleted these three, git push origin main. So I hope all of you are getting the idea. Now that my data set has changed, I made this commit into my system, into my repo. So here crispy cereal oat, it has come down. Now what I will do, I will commit back to the previous commit, this one, git checkout to the previous commit. And as soon as I do this, all of you please note, so here my original file, if here 75 is there, DVC checkout. So you can see it was 78 during this time. I had not deleted those three. As soon as I do DVC checkout, you can see it has changed to 78. And now I can look at the oat, I can look at the crispy and also the cereal one. So I hope you are getting the value of this. It is tracking so beautifully your data. It knows where which data was deleted, and as data scientists, as ML engineers, it gives us good leverage to have good control of our data sets. Not only adding new files, deleting new files, but modifying the files, deleting few files within the files. All these things are also being tracked very clearly by DVC. What is the data set? So this is suppose the data set folder. Where are we tracking it? Currently in this session, today's session, we were doing it locally. Right? I showed you that DVC folder.
Yeah.
Right? Locally it was doing through what we call MD5 files. It was creating some MD5
Hash.
hash, and it was maintaining for each version what was the data set whenever we were committing through DVC.
Yeah.
Tomorrow what we will learn, instead of locally, we will push it into cloud. So the only thing changes, this is going into storage in cloud. So now we can collaborate, everything can happen. Now this is one part. Now your question is, we are also committing on Git, which is again a cloud, on GitHub, sorry. So will it conflict here or something like that? So the only connection here, I think this should make it clear, the connection between DVC and Git, suppose I call this DVC, and because this is what we are tracking through DVC, and this is what we are tracking through Git. Between them, if you see, the bridge is the dataset.dvc file. I hope you are getting the idea now. So tomorrow's agenda, so here I will again revisit DVC along with Git. As I said, every class we will be doing some concepts. So I will give you some challenge or in-house assignment to work on. Once we do that, then I will show you how to add DVC to online cloud storage. I will suggest all of you, if you can make a GCP or AWS account, we can use that and use their storage to push our data into DVC, into our storage. Later, once this is done, then I want to get into the mode of creating config files, working with different environments, working with environments in Python. This I may cover, and then I may go into machine learning. So I will start developing you all as a data scientist with few simple cases of machine learning. And then once all this is done, we will also learn how to create end-to-end pipeline for any machine learning project. When I say end-to-end, it means only covering Git and DVC. I will give you all a task that now that there is a new data set you have to work on, a new machine learning model you have to create, how can you start tracking using Git and DVC? Okay, so this will be the agenda of the upcoming sessions. After this, the next sessions, I'm just giving you an idea, we'll start working on ML flow, where we will track all our experiments, machine learning experiments. I will explain you what do you mean by that. Then I will go into some deployment tools like Flask. Before that, I will first show you Streamlit. Then I will again show you Flask and then Fast API. Okay. Once this stage is reached, after this again, and then I will show you DAGs Hub, where we will learn how to collaborate on machine learning experiments. And then once we have done with this end-to-end pipeline using all the tools above, where you will learn that given a data set, given a machine learning model to be created, how you will use the above tools and deploy your machine learning model end to end. Okay. Once we have done this end-to-end assignments till here, then I will come to the automation part. Till now, nothing is automated. We are doing it by passing commands. How do we automate things? So for automation, we will learn two tools, Airflow, and we will learn GitHub Action. The whole cycle gets running. I will show you those demos. Once we have done that, then I will show you how to track your machine learning model, how to test your machine learning models. All those things I will cover. Once this is done, then I will say you are at a very good level in terms of understanding MLOps, where you are at a stage where you can end-to-end create and trigger machine learning operation cycle. Once that is done, then I will integrate cloud tools focusing on AWS and GCP. So here the limitation is I may not go into cloud engineering, but I will show you all the tools which are used for MLOps on these two platforms. Okay. So once we have done that, you all are very comfortable understanding about MLOps, how it can be integrated with different engineering tools. And now a lot of these tools will be common, and then I will come to the agentic AI framework and we will try to understand LLM ops. Okay. So at the end of this course, you will all have developed at least 3 end-to-end pipelines wherein everything is automated. So when I say automated, as soon as you make one change, suppose this is your data and this has to be deployed after a machine learning model is created, it needs to be deployed on a server. Okay. Now what we will learn with this end-to-end automation is any change in this data, and suppose there is new data which has come, any change in the data, you don't have to manually now do anything. It will trigger this pipeline. It will create it on its own a machine learning model, and it will on its own deploy it. Okay. Now the deployment can be through a Streamlit app, a Flask app, a Fast API app, or via say Kubernetes. Okay. So we will learn about all these things. So you will then, it will give you end-to-end idea about how everything is automated. So at the end of this course, we want to reach that stage. Once we have done that, we will also understand, okay, now there are different architectures. Usually in industry, we work with hybrid architecture, where say the deployment is happening on your cloud, which is say AWS or GCP or Azure, whatever it is. But your development, everything is taking place say in your system or in some pipeline. So we will learn about different architecture where say deployment is happening on AWS, rest all is triggered through some other workspace. We'll understand that. Or we can also understand locally how do you deploy it, or when do we go for local deployment, or lastly everything on cloud, how can we make that work. So different architectures we will be discussing. So now then you will understand, okay, why we learned DVC today, what all we need to do in DVC, why is this important in MLOps cycle, why is ML flow required, not all cycles required ML flow, when do we use DAGs Hub, instead of DAGs Hub what are the other tools we can use, in end-to-end pipeline when do we use Airflow, when do we use GitHub Action, or there is another option of Jenkins also. I hope you are getting the idea. So every tool will have its alternate. I will try to introduce that. We will try to make a list of those things. This way, at the end of these course, I am very confident that all of you will be very confident how to create a MLOps cycle or LLM ops end to end. You will also be in a space where you can confidently discuss requirements with your engineering team. You can discuss requirements with your data science team. You can discuss requirements with your product team, because now you will understand the end-to-end pipeline very clearly. Thank you all. Have a good day.